So yeah, let's get started. Let's start this off. Welcome again. My name is Marissa Gutierrez Vicario, and I'm very honored and pleased to be the co-chair of HRE USA. And I'm also really excited to welcome Christie Rideaus Palmer, who is our co-host, co-MC, but also she didn't know I was going to do this, but let's give her a round of applause. She is such a HRE hero, and like we love her, and like if we could give her just like some thumbs up or something like that, just to say like thank you to Christie for all the work that you do for this community. I also want to say yes. So thank you for that, and yes. Christie, also besides being co-MC, is also our HRE USA curator. And I also want to just give a special shout out to Jake Skripik, who is our tech support today, and also regional rep, and also a social studies teacher in Connecticut. So thank you so much to you, Jake, for doing this today and helping us make this space for everyone. I also want to say, so today is International Human Rights Day. It is also International Human Rights Day on the 10th year of HRE USA. So yes, that is so exciting, and like again, applause and super exciting to be here with you all in this space. We want to first start off and say thank you to everyone who has helped to make HRE USA thrive over the last 10 years, from everyone who's been in any part of this journey with us, our members first and foremost, from all over the states and all over this community that we're building together, our donors, whether individual or organizational, our fiscal sponsor, the Center for Transformative Action, Puffin Foundation, all the folks that help us and enable us to do the work, to collectively work for human rights and social justice and expanding human rights learning and action network that we're building. I also want to just welcome folks again, whether you're an educator, activist, artist, organizer, student, this is your space and this is for you. And it's such a pleasure to have you and to celebrate with you today. So give yourself a round of applause also just for being here and being in this space and being a part of this celebration. I also want to say that I love being able to introduce Nancy Flowers, like one of my personal heroes, the co-founder of HRE USA, who is gonna talk a little bit about the O'Brien Awards, and also something to celebrate our 10 years together. So I would love to hand it off to Nancy. And yeah, the floor is yours, Nancy, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Marissa. Every Human Rights Day, I have the honor to introduce the winners of that year's O'Brien Awards. These awards were established in memory of Edward O'Brien, a real pioneer in human rights education and a founding member of Human Rights Educators USA. The O'Brien Awards recognize an individual and an organization that have made a significant contribution to human rights education in the United States. This year, the 2021 O'Brien Award for Individual Achievement goes to Keith David Wattenpaugh. He's a leading historian of human rights, and he's made an important educational effort at the University of California at Davis. In collaboration with partners in the Middle East, he has worked to advance the human rights of refugee students. Among these efforts is the Article 26 Backpack Project, an award-winning cloud-based mobility tool that empowers refugees to safely store, curate, and securely share important educational and training documents. Professor Wattenpaugh, please.
Thank you. I want to make sure you can hear me. May I ask for the screen? I saw it. I just saw it, but it's disappeared. Mm-hmm. What? Oh, goodness. So
Jake will go ahead and share your screen.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Jake. Thank you. Nancy, thank you so much. And it's wonderful. I've talked to you on the phone and you look exactly like I imagined you look when we spoke on the phone. So I was given 5 minutes, and as a college professor, I will use all of them. So let me just first thank you. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as individual achievement. So I accept this award on behalf of my UC Davis colleagues who have worked with me to create the leading human rights studies program in the University of California system over a very short period of time. We teach human rights studies across much of the human experience, filling 1,000 seats a year and providing an opportunity for dozens of students to minor in human rights and grow into the next generation of human rights leaders. I also accept this award on behalf of the large team, young people, refugees in camps that have helped me through the years, my students, collaborators across the entire width and breadth of international higher education, that has made the Article 26 backpack a reality for over 1,000 refugee young people around the world, including more than 400 Afghan professionals, students, and human rights defenders who use backpack in the wake of the takeover of Kabul. Jake, if you could zoom in or whatever there, I encourage you to take a screenshot of this QR code. We're very modern at UC Davis, to learn more about this project to help defend the human right to education and the right to digital dignity. We're embarking on a new project to bring Backpack to Rwanda in collaboration with communities of Burundian and Congolese refugees. The goal is to understand how we can expand Backpack's reach throughout all of sub-Saharan Africa, and then eventually the entire world. So my time is short. Jake, if you go to the next slide, that would be great. So let me tell you a story. Over Thanksgiving Native American Heritage Break, my family and I hiked down from the slopes of Mount Tamalpais in Marin County, Mount Tam, to those of us who live there, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge into Muir Redwoods National Monument. Along the trail at the side of Cathedral Grove, a gently decaying redwood that fell the night Franklin Delano Roosevelt died in spring 1945, lies beside a plaque commemorating a visit by delegates to the San Francisco Conference on International Organizations that led to the UN and the establishment of the UN Charter. The preamble of which reads, and I know all of you know this, but it's always worth repeating. Oh goodness, it's not there, but it's where we get the origin of our human rights idea. And within just a few miles of that spot are other important sites of human rights memory that I visit periodically. Mission San Francisco Solano, a forced labor center that imprisoned Miwok, Pomo, and Patwin peoples in the 1820s, of whom 800 died over a 20-year period. To Angel Island and the walls of the immigration station that are inscribed with poems by imprisoned migrants. To a small marker in a shopping mall near SFO that's all that's left of any memory of the internment of Bay Area Japanese Americans at the Tanforan racetrack and stables before they were shipped to concentration camps like Manzanar or Tule Lake. To Alcatraz, of course, the prison, but yes, but also the occupation 50 years ago by the Indians of all tribes, and the memorial to that moment, which remains in graffiti written across the end itself.
I just need to listen into this.
So, but Jake, next slide. Next one. That's an old man standing next to a redwood. Yes, here we have, so the plaque has always, the plaque at to that moment has always moved me. And I often reflect on the terrible burden and great expectation of the delegates. They needed to get it right. I think that they did, or at least they began to get it right. Just a bit further down the trail is this very interesting sign. NPS historians have seized on our current moment of reckoning to explain how good history is always under construction, as we re-examine and examine the biases and seek to surface suppressed movements and voices. Getting it right in human rights studies education is also about helping our students and publics understand how the idea depends not upon rigidity and absolutes, but rather a continual process of reflection and adjustment. Again, on behalf of my colleagues and students at UC Davis and around the world, thank you for this award.
I thank you very much. I think all of us educators can agree with the concept that human rights and education are always a continual process. The 2021 O'Brien Award for Organizations goes to the Educators Institute for Human Rights. It was founded by teachers, for teachers, and it provides training, it develops materials, and supports networks of educators globally to work together to teach the history of mass atrocities, including the Holocaust, from a human rights perspective. The Institute's personnel includes classroom teachers, human rights professionals, scholars, leaders, and friends from around the globe. Kate English, the executive director, will accept the award on behalf of Educators Institute for Human Rights. Kate?
And I'll unmute now. Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate your making time for this today. Since only one of us could speak on behalf of the Educators Institute for Human Rights, I'm proud to represent our entire team, which includes our staff members, Antonella Giordano in Argentina, Matthew Good, our librarian, Amabla Mpayimana, our Director of Education in Rwanda, Gerald Payne, our African American History Specialist, Colleen Tambusio, who coordinates the Dispatches Project, Kelly Watson, who initiated our partnership in Cambodia, Al Majero in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Kim Klett, our tireless Deputy Executive Director. And I'd like to also include on our team our board members, Drew Bider, one of our founders and our board president for 10 years, Mara Corbett, Al Fuertes, Deborah Linick, Thea McFawn, Tracy Monroe, Alexandra Zapruder, who is our board secretary, and Kelly Zaney, who is our board vice president. We're also thrilled to announce today that we have a brand new board president. Human rights activist John Heffernan may understand the value of human rights education in preventing genocide better than anyone we know. In fact, it was his vision for activism against genocide that inspired our founding staff to start EIHR. All of us at EIHR share in the mission of Human Rights Educators USA to promote human dignity, justice, and peace by cultivating an expansive, vibrant base of support for human rights education within the United States. We're honored to be selected as the 2021 recipient of the O'Brien Award for Organizational Achievement, and we can only hope to live up to the standards of its namesake, Edward O'Brien, who we understand to be an original thinker and an inspiration for his genuine kindness, fairness, and his commitment to social justice. We'd like to thank EIHR's benefactors, including the American Federation for Teachers, the Spungen Family Foundation, the Tauber Family Foundation, the United States Department of State, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, the Watchers of the Sky Initiative, and uncountable individual supporters. We especially thank Jessica Bilo for her vision and all at the Bilo Chacon Foundation for their leap of faith, generously supporting EIHR's mission. Our work is only possible through partnerships with organizations like Aegis Trust, the Anne Frank House, the Budapest Center for the Prevention of Mass Atrocities, the Documentation Center in Cambodia, Education International, Forums AFD in Sarajevo, the Fundación La Salle in Argentina, the Illinois Holocaust Museum and Education Center, the Institute for Economics and Peace, the Kigali Genocide Memorial, PADS in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Post-Conflict Research Center in Sarajevo, the journalists at the Seven Foundation, and our colleagues at Woven Teaching. To our schools and local community colleagues, most especially to our students, you are the reason we work so hard. Thank you for engaging, thank you for your encouragement, and for celebrating success alongside each of us. The entire team sends deep gratitude to our families. We generally put in considerable time after school is over for the day and over our summer breaks. Our partners, our children, our parents, and dear friends show great patience with our preoccupation with such dark content. They help us come back to light and revive our joy when the realities of what we do become too much for our present day today. We founded EIHR as an all-volunteer nonprofit in 2011. Collectively, we bring decades of experience with thousands of students in the classroom, and for many, personal experience as survivors of conflict to our common mission, creating a space where the world's teachers can partner to end hate. The events in the United States of recent years couldn't be more grave. Since each of us started teaching about human rights and atrocity, the landscape has evolved dramatically. We see over the years that the lessons we once struggled to connect with our students' understanding have become all too relevant. Innumerable anti-Muslim attacks, a shooting at the USHMM in 2009, another in 2014 at the Jewish Community Center in Overland, Kansas. In 2015, the murder of Black church members in Charlestown, South Carolina. Torch-carrying neo-Nazis barking, "The Jews will not replace us," in Charlottesville, 2017. Pittsburgh's Tree of Life Synagogue, 2018. El Paso, 2019. And January 6th, 2021. At EIHR, we see greater tolerance for hate churning the globe, and with it, the rising risk of large-scale conflict. Partner teachers and friends outside the US stand by, sharing their wisdom and support as they watch events here threaten the democracy that we cherish. If, as H.G. Wells asserted, civilization is a race between education and catastrophe, then we must win that race. Any discussion of Holocaust and genocide education in the United States must include unvarnished analysis of our own history with atrocities, crimes against Native Americans, enslavement of Africans, and internment of Japanese Americans, just to begin with. For every step we make toward educational integrity, we seem to take two back, most recently illustrated in the erroneous campaign against critical race theory, a thinly veiled effort to eliminate equity and inclusion in our classrooms. Until we address the darkness in our past, any effort to unite and heal is stymied. In each of my 18 years with students, I read aloud Robert F. Kennedy's speech delivered in Indianapolis on April 1969 night that Dr. Martin Luther King was murdered. Senator Kennedy began with a quote from his favorite poet, Aeschylus. "In our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart until, in our own despair, against our own will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God." He went on, "What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence or lawlessness, but love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, and a feeling of justice towards those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or they be Black. EIHR believes that together, teachers can sow wisdom, compassion, and justice, employing what Nelson Mandela called the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Education, particularly unflinching, accurate history imbued with human rights, must drive us across the finish line in that race between civilization and chaos. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that again to both of the recipients of O'Brien Awards for your work, your efforts, and everything that you do to give us a little bit more brighter world. So thank you. For those that have just joined, welcome again to HRE USA's Human Rights Day celebration. Happy Human Rights Day. For those who don't know, actually, we're gonna transition to the Flowers Fund. And if you don't know what the Flowers Fund, please look it up and check it out. But it is a way of providing small grants to support innovation and mentorship in human rights education in the United States. So I would love to introduce my colleague and fellow member of the steering committee of HRE USA, Jessica Evans, and also a Flowers committee member. Thank you for also working with the committee to educate us about these wonderful people who are doing this work. So thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Marissa. It's an honor to introduce the 2021 Flowers Fun Grantees. As Marissa mentioned, the Flowers Fund was established in honor of HRE USA founding member Nancy Flowers, and it provides grants to support innovation and mentorship in human rights education in the United States. This year's award winners are Michael Buckley and David Fletcher from the Center for Human Rights and Peace Studies at Lehman College, and Natalia Santos Orozco from the University of Puerto Rico. Congratulations to the winners, and I would like to turn it over to them for a brief description of their projects. So Natalia, if you wouldn't mind going first, welcome and congratulations to you.
Thank you, Jessica. First, I want to congratulate all the colleagues honored at this celebration for their commitment to human rights education. I want you to know that you are a great inspiration to us. I also want to thank all the fellow members of the Human Rights Educators of USA. I joined the association because I have a strong belief in the benefits of establishing support and solidarity networks for the promotion and the defense of human rights and the transformation of the world as well. It fills me with joy that on a day like today, when we remember and celebrate the pertinence of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as an epoch-making event, the value of the students at the University of Puerto Rico is being recognized. The University of Puerto Rico is the most important institution of higher education in the region and is going through an unprecedented economic crisis. In 2016, the United States Congress approved PROMESA, a measure which established a fiscal control board for Puerto Rico. The board's actions have been aimed at controlling the country's government funds and paying an unsustainable debt that has not even been audited. To pay the debt, the board has promoted and decreed a series of economic austerity measures that have affected the main public institutions in Puerto Rico. The University of Puerto Rico has been one of the most affected. The decline, made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic, of extracurricular activities that stimulate and enrich academic experiences has been one of the many manifestations of this crisis. In November, the student movement carried out a strike that lasted about 3 weeks. Its main demands were aimed at restoring face-to-face university life. The Flowers Fun Grant will help to revive these now missing experiences, particularly for students in the Human Rights minor of the bachelor's degree program of the College of General Studies. Our students have a strong social commitment and a solid sense of solidarity. With the funds that have been awarded, we will develop a human rights literary contest under the title of Feeling, Thinking, Human Rights. The students enrolled in the College of General Studies will be called to submit literary texts which reflect on and analyze a current issue from the point of view of human rights. The main purpose of this activity is to encourage student interest in human rights through the practice of critical and creative thinking. Our students need and deserve this encouragement. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Michael or David from the Center for Human Rights and Peace Studies, would you care to say a few words about your project as well?
Sure. I'm not sure if my colleague David is here. I'm Michael Buckley with Lehman College. First, I'd just like to thank everyone on the Flowers Fun Committee for supporting our project and everyone with Human Rights Educators USA for the work that you do. It's really an honor to receive the award, and we really feel as if the acknowledgement has been a validation of our work. I have to say that in many ways, David, my colleague, has been the driving force behind our project. I like to think of it as a very simple idea with a great ambitious goal. And the simple idea is to begin establishing human rights clubs in high schools throughout New York City. And we're going to use the funds we received from the Flowers Fund to begin the process of supporting some efforts within some high schools around New York City to establish such clubs. But the idea is ambitious. We want to provide the support for these clubs to really develop service learning opportunities for the students, where they begin to think in terms of human rights and begin to analyze experiences of injustice they themselves have in their ordinary lives at school and in their neighborhoods, and begin to take the steps to address those injustices themselves. So the ambition is to create a more transformative educational experience for these students so that they become the engines of positive social transformation in their own lives. On top of that, there's another layer of ambition, and that is that we hope to use these centers as sort of windows into emerging issues of injustice that students themselves are experiencing, so that Lehman College, through its center and through its network of social justice practitioners and educational justice practitioners, bring experiences and their knowledge to bear on these emerging issues. So we have what we see as a really critical piece to a larger picture of educational human rights within New York City high schools and middle schools that takes students as crucial actors within any sort of transformation and improvement in social justice and educational experiences for New York City high school students. So on behalf of David Fletcher and myself, I want to again thank the Flower Funds Committee and human rights educators for this honor and award.
Thank you so much, Michael, and congratulations to you both again, and congratulations again to all the 2021 Flowers Fun grantees. I'd now like to introduce Bayard Nielsen, who is a 2020 Flowers Fun Award winner, who due to the COVID-19 pandemics had to work with his students to adjust his Flowers Fun project. Bayard is here with his student, I believe, Maggie Garza, and thank you both for joining us today. Congratulations again. And would you like to say a few words about your project?
We would, yeah. And unfortunately, Maggie's under the weather, so she won't be joining us. But I am a high school Spanish teacher in San Jose, California. I teach at Notre Dame High School. And I used my Flower Funds grant to stand in solidarity with day laborers in the city of Mountain View, so my students could better understand their many cultures and perspectives. And my students did this through interviewing Maria Marroquin, the director of the Day Worker Center in Mountain View, California. And they also created a culturally relevant game that educates others about this center. When interviewing Maria, my students used their proficiency in Spanish to identify important cultural practices and backgrounds of day workers in the Bay Area. They were really surprised at the many different cultures, languages, and countries represented. In non-COVID years, students would normally sit in small groups at the center and interview workers. However, last year, this was done via Zoom. Next, my entire class participated in the creation of a custom loteria game. If you aren't familiar with loteria, it's a Mexican game that's similar to bingo, except instead of letters and numbers, the board consists of culturally relevant images, such as el corazón, the heart, and el pájaro, the bird. Students chose images that best represent the Day Worker Center, described their significance in English and Spanish, drew them, and then put the whole thing together with Adobe InDesign. All I did was hit print, and here is the result. So here we have a tabla, a playing board, and a few sample, here's a baraja, a deck, and then a few sample fichas or cards. And we have el derecho, el cubrebocas, there's your COVID special right there, and el centro, which is a picture of the Day Worker Center in Mountain View. And lastly, for the center's 25th anniversary, we played the Loteria game at a community celebration in downtown Mountain View, which is what you're going to see in the following clip. Thank you so much to the Human Rights Educators USA, especially for your flexibility with COVID and with the program being moved to Zoom, and to all of you for your support.
Grites, ¿qué grites? Lotería. Lotería, cuando ganas. Segunda palabra, la comida, the food. Tercera palabra, el corazón. El corazón, the heart. Siguiente, la libertad. La libertad. The liberty. La libertad. Siguiente. el Zoom, el Zoom, Z-O-O-M, el Zoom, lo que usábamos a menudo el año pasado. The Zoom. Próxima palabra, el tamal. El tamal. Siguiente, el cubrebocas. El cubrebocas. The mask, el cubrebocas. Próxima.
¿Va bien?
El jabón.
Venga, venga, suerte.
Gracias. El jabón. The soap, el jabón. Siguiente. La maleta.
Thank you so much, Bayard, for that wonderful display, visual display of what you did, as well as the description. And we also are so grateful that you are willing to share your game and that we'll be able to post it on our Human Rights Educators USA website. And we've talked about also trying to maybe even do a mini bingo, human rights bingo game on Zoom. We'll see if we can pull that off in the new year. So thank you again. Let's give a round of applause to Bayard. Now it is my great honor to introduce Sarita Kargas, Associate Professor of Human Rights of the University of New Mexico, and also co-chair of the University and College Consortium for Human Rights, to be able to present our the new UCC HRE Human Rights in Higher Education Awards. Thanks, Sarita.
Greetings, everyone, from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to mention the University and College Consortium for Human Rights Education, otherwise known as UCC HRE, launched this year our Human Rights in Higher Education Award, perhaps the first international award in human rights education. The Consortium for Human Rights Education works to further human rights learning, research, policy, and practices within and across university and college communities through collaboration. The award recognizes an individual, organization, initiative, or publication for its outstanding contribution to human rights education. The recipients for 2021 are two distinguished journals in the field, the Human Rights Education Review and the International Journal of Human Rights Education. As editors-in-chief, Audrey Osler, Professor of Education at University College of Southeastern Norway, and Monisha Bajaj, Professor of International and Multicultural Education at the University of San Francisco, will accept the award on behalf of their respective publications. Founded within a year of each other, 2018 and 2017 respectively, the Human Rights Education Review and the International Journal of Human Rights Education mark the coming of age of human rights education as a scholarly field. Each provides an international forum for the exchange of research and experiences, as well as a space for scholars, young and old, to reach the growing global audience for human rights education in both academia and the world of human rights activism. In their content and the diversity of their contributors, both journals reflect the international nature of human rights education. Both offer peer-reviewed articles and reviews of the highest quality. Both are open source and accessible to individuals outside the academy. Both reflect the broad range of applications encompassed by human rights education, including formal, popular, and values education, and HRE in post-colonial, post-conflict, minority, and oppressed communities globally. Editor Osler, I would like to give you a moment to accept the award.
Thank you very much. I would like to share my screen, if I may. It's saying host disabled participants.
I think Jake will be actually sharing
okay.
Yeah, he can share.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm I am honored and excited to accept this award on behalf of the editors of Human Rights Education Review and our publisher, the University of Southeastern Norway. We are really appreciative of this international award because we believe that it will help us to strengthen research in human rights education, which is in fact the whole purpose of us setting up Human Rights Education Review and the reason we set it up 4 years ago. I believe that the only way to embed human rights education in our formal education system is to and to guarantee all students the entitlement to human rights education is really to embed this in formal education and in teacher education. And so one of the things we've been focusing on in our journal over the last years is to focus on formal schooling. Our journal is, as Sarita has just said, open access. There's no paywall, so it's open to all of you to take a look, to enjoy. We hope that the articles are accessible to all. We've had 33,615 article downloads in the last 4 years, and we're very excited and hope that might be increasing. If you are thinking of contributing, one of the things we're very proud of is that we try and ensure that articles are published on average 28 weeks after submission. So we work really hard from that. You can see we've got contributions from 24 countries, including, for example, what we believe to be the very first article on human rights education in Nigeria. We're publishing 3 editions a year, 1 each year with a special focus. And our current call for papers may interest people in HRE USA because it's about human rights education and grassroots activism. So if you'd like to contribute to that, we'd like to hear from you. Can we have the next slide, please? Hope that people will take the time to browse the journal and register for updates and learn more about human rights research that we're publishing. We also have a webinar series in which a number of you I know have already participated, and we're planning another one for 2022, and we hope you'll join us. If you think you might have missed out on something exciting, we've put all our past webinars up on YouTube, so you can take a look there. And you can follow us on Twitter as well. This is my very, very warm thanks to UCCHRE for this award. We hope to use it to share the research more widely, to reach professionals as well as academics. And we thank you warmly for your support, all at HRE USA as well. Thank you.
And next, Monisha, do you want to accept the award?
Sure. I think, Jake, you have one of our slides also. Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone, to the University and College Consortium for Human Rights Education for this award and recognition of the work that our team at the International Journal of Human Rights Education has been doing over the past several years. In 2015, we had the idea of wanting an academic space where authors didn't have to justify why human rights education mattered. Is it really a field? Is it not? The kinds of things that journal editors sometimes ask when you submit a paper on human rights education. We wanted that to be a given when people submitted to this journal. And a space that could be open access, so much like the Human Rights Education Review, to serve the global field of human rights education. With the support of our Gleason Library at the University of San Francisco, we launched our first issue in 2017, and we've had 4 more since then, with articles on themes of migration, decoloniality, Indigenous women, racial justice, and their intersections with human rights education. We've published 70 articles, commentary essays, notes from the field, and book reviews, and these have been downloaded over 25,000 times from 160 countries. You can see the map there. That looks a little different than most academic publishing maps where you have paywalls, because you can see the Global South represents a big chunk of our readership. We're an all volunteer team of students and faculty at the University of San Francisco. Many of us, all of us, have other full-time work responsibilities, and this has truly been a labor of love to produce high quality content that pushes critical conversations forward in the field of human rights education. We're so grateful to our editorial board, which includes many people who are on the screen today, and our entire team that worked so hard on the journal. Professor Susan Katz, who's here, along with doctoral student David Tao, who served as our reviews editors, to Dr. Ria Dasgupta, who served as our first managing editor for 5 years, to doctoral students Lena Lenberg and Jasmine Gota, who are here on the screen today, who currently serve as managing editors, and to our assistant managing editors, doctoral students Michiko Kealoha, I saw you there, Michiko, in the participant list, Maria Autry, I also saw you there, Rachel Brand, Lori Selke, and Brian Davis. Brazilian educational theorist Paulo Freire said in his seminal book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, knowledge emerges only through invention and reinvention, the restless, impatient, continuing, hopeful inquiry beings pursue with the world and with others. This award encourages us to continue this work with the knowledge and recognition that our work matters, that this invention and reinvention, as Freire says, is meaningful in our pursuit of a more just world. We congratulate our co-recipients and offer our gratitude to the UCC HRE for this award and this honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Monisha and Audrey. Let's give them a round of applause for their amazing work, and the team, the International Journal of Human Rights Education and the Human Rights Education Review. I can say are important sources for me as a student and as a lifelong learner. And the open access to both of these, I think, is really helping to really strengthen this human rights education movement. So thank you very much. Now we're going to be turning to what we only had as a dream, I think, last year when we had our first human rights celebration, and that was to honor the legacy of Kirby Edmonds with our first ever Human Rights Edmonds Fellowship summer internships. And so we were able to do this with, again, an amazing Edmonds Fellowship Committee that was able to focus on 3 primary projects, and then was able to award this summer to 3 amazing young leaders, Ashley Deno, who worked on the social media analytics, to Winnie Ho, who worked on our organizational landscape analysis, to Danielle Luxstead, who worked on our training as action series to really help to develop the vision for that. Now we're going to actually hear from all of them in a video, a kind of snapshot of the impacts of their work this past summer.
So my job this past summer with HRE USA was essentially to be a social media analyst. So what I did a lot was to collect a lot of data and look at trends on HRE USA social media accounts, as well as look at their overall online presence. So collectively, what I have learned from this experience with HRE USA, I can bring with me into the classroom and impact generations of students to come through this knowledge and through the imparting of this knowledge. So for this summer, I worked on a organizational landscape analysis to understand the different kinds of human rights education organizations that were doing this work across the US or with US-based audiences. You know, in a sea of such amazing organizations, which organizations really fit HRE USA's goals and missions, and more importantly, would contribute to building out our network and function as a resource for all of these organizations to be able to work together. Think about how to turn, network building into a tangible resource, how to connect more organizations together. In addition, I got to do a lot of needs assessment calls with some of the identified organizations from our search, and those led to some really fascinating, wonderful conversations about how HRE USA can continue to support organizations who are developing their HRE work or to further the work that they're already doing. I have been working to design a series that will hopefully carry on beyond this year in terms of the structure in a way that provides some longevity for the HRE USA team. The idea is that we are bringing our many members who are scattered throughout the United States into one space where there will be shared learning and application of resources and tools so that they can turn around and carry on both this new knowledge and the skills they've expanded or built upon for the first time potentially into their professional capacities. And so a lot of my work was focused on deciding what are we deciding are the maybe most important issues to start with, at least some of the most important that we could have chosen from a range of course, endless possibilities of human rights issues. Just so grateful to my team every step of the way for my experience with HRE USA, which I plan to continue for years to come as I'm in the middle of my PhD program in sociology of human rights. And so I hope that this is the beginning of a long relationship with HRE USA.
Thank you so much, HRE USA, for a wonderful summer. Thank you again to HRE USA for offering me this experience and this opportunity. And I look forward to seeing the next set of Edmonds Fellows. So thanks again.
We'll stay tuned for our next round of Edmonds Fellowship opportunities for 2022. So we will be sending you more information about those coming up. And I want to send a big shout out to Kaylee Bradford, who is our research scholar this year, who helped to splice that video to put it together. In addition, she helped to roll out our first ever, I guess, pilot 2021 Training as Action series that reached more than 30 individuals, participants, our human rights educator members, to kind of run through a series of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 trainings. And we were really fortunate to have more than 10 co-facilitators, a part of the HRE USA team, to help make that possible. So now I think we will turn it over back to Marissa, and I would like to send a sincere, deep gratitude to Marissa for all of her amazing leadership with Human Rights Educators USA as the co-chair and really our fearless leaders. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks again for everyone being here. Thank you to the steering committee, the committees who are part of selecting applicants and everyone who's here today. I get a really great job at this very end. I'm really, really excited to introduce and who will close us out for today. And I think it's so appropriate. Anyways, I'm so excited about this. So Lena Lenberg is a steering committee member and also a humanities teacher at Presidio High School in San Francisco. So along with her today, she's actually she has her 6th grade humanities class and they're going to lead us out. And I think it's so appropriate to end on this one. They're going to carry us out with a reading. But I think given that that is the next generation of human rights advocates and activists, I think it's a perfect ending for today. So thank you so much. And Lena and class, take it away and welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. We're really excited to finish the program today by reading the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and all of its articles. So I have with me 7 wonderful 6th grade students who have been especially motivated in areas of social justice and human rights, and they have volunteered. And among them, they're actually going to read in 6 different languages. So we're going to go around and I'm going to begin with Article 1, and I will then introduce the next speaker, and then the rest of them will introduce themselves as they're going around, and they'll tell you their name and the language in which they will be reading. So I'm going to begin in English with Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act toward one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Article 2 will be read in English by Milani. So here we go.
Everyone is entitled to all rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status.
Hello, my name is Javier and I'll be reading in Spanish. Artículo 3. Todo individuo tiene derecho a la vida, a la libertad y a la seguridad de su persona.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jonathan, and today I'll be reading to you in Chinese. 第4条，任何人不得使为奴隶或奴役，一切形式的奴隶制度和奴隶买卖均应予以禁止。
Hello, my name is Anna and I'll be speaking in Italian. Nessun individuo potrà essere sottoposto a tortura o trattamento o a punizioni crudeli, inumani o degradenti.
Hi, my name is Indrak and I'll be reading in French and Estonian. Chacun a le droit à la reconnaissance en tout lieu de sa personnalité juridique.
Hi, my name is Wyatt. I'm going to be reading in the Irish language Gaelic. Articles, yes. Es comihan gagwin as comha en diagos dasiad I detail comihan andigan edulhibu abit. Takak I detail comias contian gesef abit chan edel.
Hello, I'll be reading in Spanish. Artículo 8. Toda persona tiene derecho a un recurso efectivo ante de los tribunales nacionales competentes que ampre contra actos que violen sus derechos fundamentales reconocidos por la Constitución o por la ley.
No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile.
Artículo 10. Toda persona tiene derecho en condiciones de plena igualdad a ser oída públicamente y con justicia por un tribunal independiente e imparcial para la determinación de sus derechos y obligaciones o para el examen de cualquier acusación contra ella en materia penal.
第11条，一，凡受刑事控制者有未经获得辩护上所持的一切保证的公开审判而依法证实有罪以前，有权被视为无罪。二，任何人的任何行为或不行为，在其发生时，依国家法或国际法均不构成刑事罪者，不得被判为犯有刑事罪。刑法不得重于犯罪时适用的法律规定。
Articolo 12. Nessun individuo potrà essere sottoposto ad interferenze arbitrarie nella sua vita privata, nella sua famiglia, nella sua casa, nella sua corrispondenza, né a lesioni del suo onore e della sua reputazione. Ogni individuo ha diritto ad essere tutelato dalla legge contro tali interferenze o lesioni.
Artikkel 13. 1. Igal inimesel on õigus riigi piires vabalt liikuda ja oma elukoht valida. 2. Igal inimesel on õigus lahkuda ükskõik milliselt maalt, kaasa arvatud kodumaa ja kodumaale tagasi pöörduda.
Artikkel 7. Ta insert agad and during teman ogil viennu. Alog agad best is the best.
Toda persona tiene derecho a una nacionalidad.
Article 16. Men and women of full age without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion have the right to marry and found a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution.
Artículo 17. 1. Toda persona tiene derecho a la propiedad individual y colectivamente. 2. Nadie será privado arbitrariamente de su propiedad.
第18条，人人有思想、良心和宗教自由的权利。此项权利包括改变他的宗教或信仰的自由，以及单独或集体、公开或秘密的以教义、实践、礼拜和节律表示他的宗教或信仰的自由。
Articolo 19. Ogni individuo ha diritto alla libertà di opinione e di espressione, incluso il diritto di non essere molestato per la propria opinione e quello di cercare, ricevere e diffondere informazioni e idee attraverso ogni mezzo e senza riguardo a frontiere.
Article 20. Toute personne a droit à la liberté de réunion, et d'associations pacifiques. Nul ne peut être obligé de faire partie d'une association.
Artikel 51. Waaruit England aan station wat calique irratias eteco. Ya es noche y andet tocta no se habla. Artículo 22. Toda persona como miembro de la sociedad tiene derecho a la seguridad social y obtener mediante el esfuerzo nacionalidad y cooperación internacionalidad. Habita cuenta de la organización y los recursos de cada estado. La satisfacción de los derechos económicos, sociales y culturales indispensables a su dignidad y libre desarrollo de su personalidad.
Everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just favorable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Everyone without any discrimination has the right to equal play for equal work.
Artículo 24. Toda persona tiene derecho al descanso, al disfrute del tiempo libre, a una alimentación razonable de la duración del trabajo y de vacaciones periódicas pagadas.
第25条，一，人人有权享受为维持他本人和家属健康和福利所需的生活水准，包括食物、衣着、住房、医疗和必要的社会服务。在遭到失业、疾病、残废、守寡、衰老或在其他不能控制的情况下丧失谋生能力时，有权享受保障。二，母亲和儿童有权享受特别照顾和协助，一切儿童无论婚生或非婚生都应享受同样的社会保护。
Articolo 26. Ogni individuo ha diritto all'istruzione. L'istruzione deve essere gratuita almeno per quanto riguarda i classi elementari e fondamentali. L'istruzione elementare deve essere obbligatoria. L'istruzione tecnica e professionale deve essere messa alla portata di tutti e l'istruzione superiore deve essere ugualmente accessibile a tutti sulla base del merito.
Artikkel 27. Igal inimesel on õigus ühiskonna kultuurielust vabalt osa võtta, kunsti nautida, teaduse progressi oma panus anda ja selle progressi hüviseid kasutada. Igal inimesel on õigus oma moraalsete ja materiaalsete huvide kaitsele, mis johtuvad teaduslikest töödest, kunsti- ja kirjandustest.
Artikel 28. Sunt un vitel o societate et nasulta. In after nasulta Naugas no share Untitled Chapter. Sadia Busio, Pinoco, Goho Agasco, Pimonapa. Artículo 29. Toda persona tiene deberes respecto a la comunidad, puesto que solo en ella puede desarrollar libre y penalmente su personalidad.
And I will finish off for us here. Article 30, nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. So we want to wish you all a very happy Human Rights Day. Happy Human Rights Day. Happy Human Rights Day. All right. Thank you all.